Sounds good.
Let's rock and roll.
All right. Well, I am Amy Quick. I'm a BDE with IntelliMagic, and we sell IT operations analytics for IT infrastructure. So basically, remote performance monitoring, which is crazy right now. I'm probably the busiest I've ever been, which is a huge blessing considering the dynamic of the world right now. I've been in sales for a while, about 15 years. I've been an SDR, inside sales, BDE, account executive, and done strategic sales as well. And what I'm doing right now is on the executive or the enterprise level, I should say. So a lot of mine are like full deal cycle deals, but I also do like the BDR, SDR, outbound prospecting stuff as well. So I kind of, wear many hats in my current role. All right, who am I kicking it off to? Gavin?
Me, yeah. Hey, I'm Gavin Tice, located in Columbus, Ohio. Currently, I am an opportunistic victim of COVID. I was laid off from my Gucci job about, 2 weeks ago. Been in sales for about 5 years. I've done everything from Grant Cardone, hardcore, silly training to currently in the Sandler world. So I don't know. I'm focused on healthcare, IoT, and a lot of startup kind of stuff. So that's a little bit about me. On to
Tabitha.
Yes.
There we
go. Hey guys, I'm Tabitha Cavanagh, aka some of you know me on LinkedIn as Tab the Recruiter. I am a sales and marketing executive leadership type of level recruiter and talent strategist. I help people with their resumes, their career strategy as well. And so we just partner with a lot of organizations, SaaS, tech, hyper growth mode type of companies. And right now I'm working with a healthcare company to fill some higher level sales leadership type of roles. And I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Sweet. Chris.
Awesome. So Chris Von Hewen, maybe you know me because I use the hashtag CVH. It's just my initials. We're not that fancy here. San Francisco, California is where I reside, doing that lovely copier life for Xerox. So now I'm selling managed IT services because none of y'all are buying copiers and I hate you for it. So I'm buying managed IT services. Done sales for about 4 or 5 years now. Have finance, consulting background. So I did that before going into sales. And I mean, I don't know, whatever else you want to know, just ask.
Where's your vest?
Yeah, I got lazy.
That's what I want to know.
It's like right behind in the closet. So I mean, if you really want me, I'll flip the camera off. I'll put the vest and tie on. And I can flip the camera back on. I mean, I can do all that magic.
One of those.
It's casual Friday,
That'd be a first.
Yeah.
100%.
Thanks,
I'm just going to totally steal your hashtag. I think that's awesome.
Hey,
What
power
his
to you. Go
initials?
ahead.
Yeah, my initials,
Yeah.
hashtag GMT. That's really cool. Way to be unique.
I mean, people call me CVH because Chris is such a common name. So I'm like, just CVH. Just make it easy on yourself. It flows. It goes well. It's not a lot of characters. You can't screw it up too badly. I hope to God. I don't know.
Great.
Patrick, man, you're at the bottom of my screen. How's your morning?
It's going well. It's a beautiful day here in Seattle. The sun is really starting to come out. I guess I've been in sales. This is closing in on my 3rd year. I have been focused on sales development, business development pretty much the whole time. I started out selling insurance, variety of different types of products there before I got into tech. And then have been really focused on business development since then. I'm actually about to start a new role in the middle of all the craziness happening out there in the world. I somehow managed to land a gig as a business development manager for a company called Ikata on the strategic accounts team.
Congrats,
I haven't
man.
told LinkedIn yet,
Sweet.
but you guys are pretty much the first
Yeah.
people
awesome.
outside of my inner circle that I'm talking to.
Arcata, good people. Yeah, that's a great company.
Yeah. I'm very excited to get started with it. So yeah, that's pretty much me.
Sweet.
Congrats.
Yeah, man. Super. Hey, everybody. I'm Francois. I'm one of the original founders of this crazy group of cool cats. By day, I sell kind of mid upper mid-market CRM, ERP solutions. I've been working in the Microsoft ecosystem for about 10 years. Right now I'm with a partner based in Western Canada and the Pacific Northwest called Encore Business Solutions. And yeah, I just love getting on here and hearing how people are trying to figure out how to sell better. And I learned just as much being a participant. So this has been super fun, and appreciate everybody helping out here. It's a super fun community. And Tucker, we've talked before. You wear lots of hats, but today you're talking about Capturely. So tell us how you want to use the time and how you want to get kind of feedback. I mean, last week was unique. You know, we had a guy selling pens, so it changes every week, man. Every week.
Yeah, I'm pretty open, but I can just kind of share what Capturely is about, what our plans are, how I'm planning to tackle things. And I stole Chris's vest, so I've got it.
Nice.
Trying to steal it. I mean, I'll get my name stolen, my vest stolen. Like, do you want my social security number next? Like, you're just going for it today.
We probably got it.
Yeah, it's out there. It's out there somewhere. If
It's on Zoom Info.
Yeah. Love it. So I actually would love, I need to write a blog post about this, but during this time, like, I'd love to just share how I got this job too. So I've worked at a couple different startups, high growth startups. So I started at a company called Sigster when I left college. When I joined, we had about 300K in ARR. When I left, we had about 4.5 million in ARR. I then left that company as a top rep and then moved to another company called Socio, these were just friend referrals, like buddies that I knew that were working there. Socio had like 650K in ARR, and then we grew to about 2.9 million in ARR within a year while I was there. That none of those are because of me, but I did help with those growth patterns there. And then this job with Capturely, the CEO was actually on a plane with somebody who was like, hey, you guys should talk with Socio Labs. You're kind of in the same group. And so I started developing a relationship with the CEO. He actually offered me a board position at the company originally, which I was just blown away by, because the first meeting we had went from talking about events and headshots and things of that nature to addiction and pain and all these other things that I love to talk about in my free time. So it was really interesting. And then kind of over the course of the last couple months, I had made the decision. I kind of had one foot out the door at Socio based on some things that I may or may not have liked about what was going on behind closed doors. And I had kind of started making the transition. So I started my own company 2 months ago, and then I was working for Socio on paper, but I started kind of just going to Capturely and working for them every day for free. And then at that point, we had kind of come to a decision a couple weeks ago. I announced it last week that I'd be the VP of enterprise sales at this company and lead sales and kind of run the enterprise. So it's kind of a crazy story of how I got the job. And, right now I went from, I was senior AE at Sigster. I wanted to do it as an AE again at Socio. So I've jumped from AE to VP, which is pretty nuts in my opinion. Ego aside, just I'm really humbled and grateful for the opportunity I have here. So all that to be said, we're professional headshots. So the headshot industry is actually a $3.8 billion industry, and 98% of that is done by freelancers. So there's some big players in the space already. There's a company in London that's called Miro that raised like $250 million in their last round. They're doing a lot of AI and a lot of software behind it. But right now, this company has worked with Hulu, Netflix, Facebook, LinkedIn, Warner Brothers. I mean, their enterprise list is already really, really impressive. But right now, it's an interesting time, obviously. So really where our strategic initiative is going after HR leaders who are essentially offboarding and outplacing a bunch of employees. So if you're about to re-enter the job market right now, you essentially should be providing outplacement services as an employer, or thinking about, hey, how do I get my next job as an employee? One of those things should be an updated headshot if you don't have one. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I've never sold to HR before. I've always sold to marketing, events, demand gen, marketing ops types folks. So I don't know if that helps, Francois, but I'd love to just get feedback from the gang on, you know, how I should approach HR, how I should approach headshots. We've done a lot of strategy, a lot of cool things recently, but that's kind of where we're at.
So I guess my first question is, and I'm sure everybody here has questions, but like you're VP of sales, but what's your sales team look like right now?
So right now there's 4 other partners in the business. I've joined as partner number 5, essentially. They've brought me in as, and we have a channel sales manager. We have a guy who's kind of working alongside me. He's our EVP of corporate development. And then we have another guy who's more on the technology side. But yeah, so it's me and then 1 channel sales manager that me and one of the other sales executives will manage, and then I'll have 4 interns this summer, and then whenever we start hiring, I'll help hire in Indianapolis as we grow into what we want to be.
Tucker, have you done any like ICP work, ideal customer profile? Like, do you know like the value, the benefits, like what they're struggling with, how it ties in? Like, have you done any of that framework yet?
That's a wonderful question, Chris, and that's some of the stuff that I'm right in the middle of. So
Gotcha.
Trying to talk to HR leaders, see what they're struggling with, see what their pain points are, make sure that they would be the right buyer for something like this. Yeah, you're spot on with that right there.
Gotcha. I'll still send you the post. I wrote it all out on how to go do your ICP. So yeah. Let me put myself on mute and I'll go find it and send it to you in the comments.
You're the man. That's awesome, Chris. Thanks.
I'm curious. Go ahead, Amy.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, so have you figured out like where your transition is for these people? So the key that I've always found to really sell to anyone is you have to know where they're at, and then where are they going to be like emotionally and professionally after they've utilized your service.
Yeah.
So the before and after story is going to be really important. But I mean, honestly, enterprise space, and I mean, Tabitha's a recruiter, so she'll be able to kind of speak to this probably more than any of us on the call. But in the enterprise space, this is huge because companies, when they're going through systematic layoffs, there's a process that they have in place that's actually fairly clear from an internal perspective. The employees are aware that layoffs are coming a lot of times before they actually hit. And that's, I mean, thank God that HR teams do that now, because what they do is they go to their management team and say, okay, you need to prep your workers and let them know this is potentially going to impact them. And then, you know, there's ranking systems that they put in place that the management have to look at the reviews, and they have to look at their performance. And a lot of times it's last one hired into that department, whether they're an awesome employee or not. If they were the last one hired in that team, they're getting cut if a headcount cut comes down. And it can go by budget, right? So it can go by salary, which, you know, every department has to cut X number of dollars in salary from their team, or it could just come from straight headcount. Like you have to cut 5 people on your team, and they rank them, right? So the HR teams they have this structure in place already. I mean, it's kind of like it's like an insurance policy that they have to have some sort of structure in place to systematically handle layoffs, including you know, any sort of retirement packages that they're giving and deals that they're going to be giving out. And I think that's going to be your key right there, is getting in with the HR leaders that are dealing with all of these outbound packages and deals that they're cutting with people to give them a fighting chance in the real world, and sliding in something like Capturely, like, hey, we'll even offer, you know, this, you know, you can get your new headshot taken with this company as part of that package, would be a really, really smart play on your part. This would be very easy for them to build into the legalities of what they're already drawing up for those employees. It's a little bit harder for the people that just get the cut and they don't really get an offer. I mean, they're getting laid off for performance, or, you know, whatever the issue may be there. But there has to be a way to maybe run some sort of algorithm on LinkedIn if it's Sales Navigator specifically, to see all of the people that have job changes or whatever, you know, within the last 5 days. And then target those people?
The WARN Act, which is what I've done a little bit of research on so far, is essentially says that you have to give 60 days notice to employees if it's more than 100 at a company, and you also have to report that to government, which you can pull those reports from the WARN Act. So right now we're in New York City, Atlanta, and LA. And Indianapolis, where I'm at. With one of our clients, we're going to need to be in 19 within the next month or two. So that's some of the stuff that we're doing. Amy, you're already ahead of the game with what you're thinking, because that's exactly and kind of we're trying to be a part of that process. That's like, okay, one of the check boxes on outplacement services alongside your insurance, your retirement, your 401k, whatever it is that you're being offered out the door, stocks, is an updated headshot to help you land on your feet at your next job.
Right, because they don't want crappy glass doors or anything. Like, oh man, this, the process of me being laid off was horrible. Here's why.
Yeah. Millennials.
It's such an opportunity for people.
But you know what I mean? Like, exactly.
Yes.
It is.
And people don't take advantage.
You had some comments, Tabitha, and then Patrick.
Yeah. So, and I think that's so great, Amy. That's very, very true. And my first thought was you should talk to Claude Silver over at VaynerMedia. And I don't know specifically if they have this type of a service, but what I do know is that, so Claude is the Chief Heart Officer for VaynerMedia, probably one of the most well-known, at least in my world, like HR leaders. She's fantastic. And she talks a lot on various webinars, podcasts about, their offboard. They have a very strong offboarding process for the people leave. They want to set their employees, even if they're leaving because it's just not a good fit, they want to set those people up for success in moving forward by helping them make new connections, maybe find them a better place to work that would be a better fit for them. So I think if she doesn't have this already, it's something that she might be interested in, just based on, how well they support their employees. And then my other thought too was there's a gentleman, and I can help make the introduction. His name is DeJuan Brown. He's the VP of sales over at Fringe. And Fringe is a company in Richmond, Virginia. And basically a high level overview is they are like a benefits kind of provider. They facilitate everything. So like if your company, let's say, wanted to hire Fringe, you could buy points for all of your employees, and then employees could go onto this platform and pick out whatever makes sense for them. Maybe Bob over in finance loves Netflix and he wants Netflix, but Mary wants, care.com babysitting services, and it just offers. So I thought that might even be a place for you guys to partner where you're an option on Fringe. And so somebody like me, let's say I got laid off, I could go into Fringe, but I have points and maybe I could use it to get a headshot for my next opportunity. So those were the first couple of things that came to mind.
Oh, go ahead, Tucker. You can respond to that.
That's incredible. Like, I love both those things. Do you know Claude Silver by any chance?
Yeah, so my boss knows her a bit better than I do, but I kind of run in that same circle, and I've talked to her before and met her, so I might be able to make an intro there. I'll also intro you to our CEO, and then I'll intro you to DeJuan, because I think that could be a really interesting partnership.
Why are you like the best person ever? That's so kind of you. So it's funny that you say VaynerMedia, because me and the EVP of corporate development at this company, Brian Comfer, are building out what's called Pictures with a Purpose. So this is going to be a service that we provide for free, more as like a brand awareness, demand generation type thing from seeing us. So we'll go to, economic development. We'll go to people who can kind of get us in front of folks. And one of the ones that we really wanted to target was VaynerMedia and Gary Vaynerchuk, because he does pencils with a purpose, right? And we were going to do pictures with a purpose and try and target VaynerMedia and say, hey, like during this crisis, we're going to give away, 2,000 headshots over the course of 3 days. We want to partner with you guys to do that, get that out to the network of your people. And that was already kind of a strategic initiative that we've talked about internally. So that's a
big bonus. I mean, I was going to say, like, if you can get like a handful of like LinkedIn influencers or anyone like, Gary, to partner with and do some sort of giveaway or some sort of promotional content on what you guys do, that's going to boost you immediately in the realm of just getting in front of more decision makers, because you're not necessarily going to need those executives, but man, if they see something like that and the initiative that you guys are doing, and they know they're getting ready to lay off a lot of people, that could be something that they would be willing to actually go down the chain of command and say, you guys need to bring them on. They're doing this initiative. I think this would be great for boosting morale, especially with the people that are remaining within the organizations, because then you have a solidified relationship already there. It's much easier to upsell into a current customer account than it is to sell into a new one, right? So if you've got this initiative already going because they're going to be doing a handful of layoffs, then the pretense is there for when that happens and everything is calm. Well, everyone needs nice headshots for their LinkedIn profiles and social media. And they put, a lot of times they're putting them on their own websites or business cards. So that's something that they could roll out within the HR team to kind of make sure there's a cohesive professional look for all of their employees. I mean, it's going to be a no-brainer there to kind of upsell some of that. So, but I'll let Patrick jump in because I know he's got some thoughts on it.
Yeah, I am thinking mostly about the angle of entry. Like, that's what I always think about. And I'm sure you've already got a lot of it figured out, Tucker, just from your previous role. But I feel like it's definitely a top-down concept, because it's about protecting the brand. And it's less about like solving a problem that takes somebody an hour every day. It's more like what you want to avoid is like the articles that have been going around, like Trip Actions, right? Trip Actions got slammed because they let 200 people go on a Zoom call with no warning or anything like that. Like, and obviously they're a little bit of a smaller company, but in comparison to some of the enterprise lists that you're talking about. But I always think about like leveraging stories that I already have, who are customers that have already helped. Like, look, Amazon's doing this, you know what I mean? Or being able to tell a customer story to another enterprise client at the C level and just keeping it like super short, super crisp. That's pretty much how I think about it. I don't know how much time you've put into that already, or if you have any strategies you'd be willing to share out with us. Like, how are you going about this? That'd be my question.
That's part of what I'm building out right now, is the sales strategy, is the kind of cadence for reaching out. I think like we've got some really interesting stats about Glassdoor, like, you know, a decrease in like a half a star in Glassdoor, I think roughly is 10% more recruiting costs to bring somebody in, which is like, oh shit. Like now it's not a sunk cost to get some headshots. Like the headshot is the thing. The bigger idea is professional brand, employer brand, company brand, which are all different things, but all kind of interconnected. So we're building like graphs around that. We're talking about why this matters. Amy, you brought up a really good point. I'm building an ebook about LinkedIn, and I want to get, you know, the Justin Welsh's, the Scott Leases, the Francois, the Amy Quicks, the Tabithas, all the people on this call, if you guys want to help me with this, to talk about professional branding, what you've done to brand yourself, your LinkedIn, how it relates to employer company branding. One of the things we've talked about as well is the fracture of the employee and the employer. It used to be Bob is a mechanic and he works for Ford. Bob is a mechanic, Ford, all equal. Now it's not that. Bob is a human being who also happens to be a mechanic, who also happens to work for Ford. And he's not going to work for you for 30 years now. He's going to work for you on average 4.2 years. And if you don't treat him right, he's going to leave a lot sooner than that. So talking about that, speaking that language of HR is, you know, how do we recruit? How do we maintain talent? How do we keep them happy? How do we prevent our Glassdoor from going through the bottom during this time? Those are all really,
this could be onboarding too. This
Yes.
isn't just about offboarding and what companies leave their employees with. Obviously, it's what happens and how they treat them, the candidate experience coming through the process. So that might be an interesting thing to think about too. Partnering with talent acquisition agencies, partnering with VCs, partnering with sales trainers, people that are just out and about meeting all these. I was thinking of like the John Barrows, the Dale Duprees, like the Scott Ingrams, you know, all of those types of people who are meeting with sales reps, sales leadership all the time. And And that could be something that's part of a training. You know,
Yeah, but-
maybe you get a photographer in there. And again, I don't know the ins and outs of, and maybe I missed that, of how it actually works and if they're freelancers or what. But if you've got something, maybe on a sales training day, maybe part of that is, part of that package is getting everybody headshots. So everybody looks the same. You know, you've got that what's it called? Oh my gosh.
Cohesion. Yeah.
Exactly. Like you've got that similar look across all of your reps instead of having like this disjointed, disconnected feeling.
I love that.
I just threw a lot at you.
On that same path.
Gavin, you've had your hand up.
Oh yeah, Gavin, I'm so sorry.
On that same path, I can give you, bread and butter money every day of the month right now. Okay, so every year, 96,000 people leave the military. They all need professional headshots done for LinkedIn and every other source. So if your channel manager has their wits about them and is good, you guys need to start attacking every single military installations TAPS group or their employment services. And I mean, I'm talking about like, you will have mailbox money every month. All you have to do is show up, make sure you can get on base, and say, hey, we offer this service, to the first however many veterans for free. And then after that, it's like however much you guys charge for a headshot. But I mean, if you want mailbox money every month around the country, so you're getting your face in front of every military veteran and all of the senior brass officials and the Pentagon, I would tell your channel sales manager immediately, like, that's the first channel that we want to attack right now today.
And part of that is too is
That's awesome,
one,
Gavin.
hire a veteran, like
Thank
Gavin, but seriously, when you get to that point where you can add headcount, hire a veteran for just that sector, just your federal government sector. And then secondly, on that same note, as far as like targeting the U.S. military and the government, the cool thing is there's unlimited budget. They'll always have money to spend. The second thing is there's all sorts of organizations like TechQuald, where they're taking guys and girls that are coming out of the military, they're still active duty a lot of times, and retraining them on something like sales, tech sales for specifically. Those organizations, they're basically building that veteran from the ground up into a professional sales or business leader, and then literally pushing them into board sessions and interview sessions with, enterprise level companies to get them a foot in the door that's a little higher up the chain of command as opposed to starting at the bottom level. And so headshots and everything like that is incredibly important. So any sort of recruitment-based organization, and I can put you in touch with TechQuald, I know the guys there, those would be great because they're already actively transitioning people out into the business, IT, sales sector. And those guys are really going to need some nice looking headshots when they're, shopping jobs with enterprise level companies. So definitely.
Like career coaches. Sorry.
I was going to just say, circle back with me about like veteran organizations. I can get you at least introductions to about 40. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot. I'm a vet, man. So I mean, but
what brand, Kevin? I'm curious.
Oh, well, I'm a crayon eater Marine. So
don't hold that against him,
No.
I come from a Navy family. My grandpa was in the Navy for 15. My uncle flew F-14s in the Navy for a while. So, I have so much respect for folks like you, Gavin, and that is a genius idea. If I could bring you on right now.
Just mail me my check later. Yeah. But we'll get together on VSOs and so veteran service organizations, and we can game plan that out. But I'm telling you, if your channel sales manager is anything, I'd be like, I want you to get the phone book of every VSO in the world.
Well, I mean, it's going to be me and Brian, who's the EVP. We're going to be selling over the next couple of months. Like I'm ready to roll up my sleeves, get my hands dirty. Like I'm not leaving sales anytime soon. And we've got another guy who's like on this front line all the time. But I'm curious, we're talking here a little bit more about like an affiliate model a little bit. And I think that's really how we hack the system and how we just like explode out the top right off the bat.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious to hear your thoughts there, like with influencers. So like Scott Leese is a mentor to me. I meet with him once a week. I go to like Justin and Scott's, thing every Thursday night, them and Amy Boas and the John Barrows and all these, and some of the folks on the call right now, you guys are all influencers. I see you all over LinkedIn. Like, how do I make it worth your while to say, Capturally, like, get your headshot with Capturally, use my code, whatever it may be. What are your thoughts there, y'all?
Well, it's not a product pitch, right? Because like, I don't give a shit about someone saying use my product. So that's why I go back to the ICP framework. You need to understand your buyer. You need to understand the value and benefits as I define it. So for example, why do I like my headshot that I have across all my profiles right now? I just got into that LinkedIn book that we all got into. I got into a bunch of other things. So it's like, you need this to set you up for future success, right? Because there's a sea of candidates out there. First impressions matter, and a powerful photo versus a crappy selfie can make it or break it when a recruiter looks at your resume for 15 minutes and pulls you up on LinkedIn. So when you start talking to me like that, and you position yourself as the conduit to get me there, you now have my attention.
91% of recruiters look at your LinkedIn profile before they have a conversation with you.
Right.
Well, and just to dovetail on what Chris was saying too, I mean, I guess from the influencer model, I mean, if people say, you like my headshot, Capturally took it, then a lot of people are going to go like, well, then I want Capturally, right? I mean, it's going to have that kind of network effect, right?
Yeah.
So would you recommend giving influencers free headshots and then going that direction as well?
Yeah.
Well, not even influencers, but like micro influencers like us.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because we can seem accessible, right? Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, I was saying you want to run the whole funnel. So you want like the Scott Leeses, Justin Welsh, Gary Vaynerchuk, that you want to fill up your entire funnel with influencers around the board, because we all touch different crowds. We all have our own voices. So you're going to have the best bet and best reach if you have a multi-pronged approach, right? And before I forget too, you need to think about schools, colleges, the career services program. You want to talk about someone churning out people that need headshots for jobs right now? Like, career services suck at transitioning.
Yeah.
So that's one of the offers that you should be thinking through. You need like a channel manager just for schools. I mean, just for schools, it's going to crush you. But that, like, for 10,000 students or 5,000 every single year, just churning. They all need headshots. They all got to get that first job. Boom. That's a career, transition package. Help the universities create that. Insert yourself into the process. You've now just added value like 3-4 times over, because universities don't know how to transition. So help them figure that out and put yourself in there as part of the package as well.
Yeah. In addition to that, intern photographers going to those schools.
Oh, yeah.
Use that. Use the students to do the work. And you could build in, internships where they actually come and work for Capturally, or, it just gives them the opportunity to, have some fun with the photographer, or have a class, where they're actually submitting like headshots, and they all have to do that, in a lot of those photography classes. So that's a second thing that you could do, is kind of like an extra little nugget of negotiation with the schools. Anything that involves the students, they're going to be willing to spend money on.
100%.
That's a great
Because they need the experience. Sorry, go ahead.
Schools and military alone, you guys are like that. There's so much gold right there.
Yeah. You're going to need to hire like 20 people and just like segment that.
Yeah, seriously.
It's so exciting. We're getting like super strategic and like thinking about how to get this thing to blow up, and like that's all it's an amazing time to be a part of a company that's just trying to get it off the ground and figure out those first few things. But I would say, like, definitely still spend, and this as an AE, like, spend some time thinking about how you're going to do this through pure outbound once it's already kind of rolling. Like, even if it might not be like this week is what's the number one most important thing. It's like, the more time that you spend thinking about that now, how to build that outbound sales engine, it's going to pay dividends once you actually have to do it, like hire account executives.
And what I'd add too is like, think about it from a marketing content game, right? Because that's like, you're just in education mode right now. So this marketing is going to start driving your inbounds for you and get you that brand awareness, because no one wants to be like hardcore sold, especially right now. So if you can position your marketing content to be educational on the value of things, everyone wants to know how to like do better interviewing, and everyone wants to know like how to position themselves to win. You have such an attractive audience right now that is going to be hyper focused. If you crush that content from like a value educational standpoint, no mentioning of your product, by the way, this is not you, you're not important. Just be that authority, own that damn lane, and like be that top voice. Plus you get the influencers and you do little interviews with them and you start kind of getting that whole nice little thing going. But right now I'd focus on a massive marketing campaign and just start creating a podcast, dude. Like create a damn podcast, syndicate it with video, audio, articles, LinkedIn posts, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Like your audiences are on all those channels. Just syndicate the hell out of your podcast right now.
Dude, you nailed it. I mean, that's like, that was the first thing I came in and said it. I was like, we're going to be a content machine. Like that is, that is the key.
Help people tell their stories, right?
Yes.
So like if you're doing a photo shoot and you can get somebody there videoing, of course, with their permission and all that, yada, yada, but video somebody's story and integrate a little bit more about them. Like if you've got a video team as well, like integrate what's going on with them and maybe a little bit more about that like get that emotional side. Like I'm not saying me, but for example, if you were photographing me, you might talk about like a little bit of my cancer story and how I overcame being laid off when I was 6 months pregnant. Like talk about people's like tap into that struggle part, and then like the new photograph is like a new beginning to like get them to the other side of all the shit they've been through or whatever. And that could be a huge part of your content, you know.
So
and actually
and Francois actually knows a little bit about my story.
I love Donald Miller. Read that book.
Building a brand story.
Building a story brand.
Yeah.
Donald
I'm
Miller.
reading it.
Got a great podcast. Right now.
So one of the first couple pieces of content that we're creating is the employer guide to outplacement. So it's just going to be like, hey, what are all the things you should be doing right now to outplace somebody and all the services you should give? No ask, no capsually, no nothing. Just boom, here you go. I'm doing the employee guide to outplacement. Like, what should you be doing right now as you're one of 21 million people who have no job to get yourself ready for the next evolution, right? To get your next job, whatever that might be. I want to build like the LinkedIn ebook of professional branding. These are what all the top people are saying. This is how they're doing their profile. This is how they're creating a personal brand. This is how they're blah, blah, blah. And then just huge thing there. And then we're going to start doing weekly videos with HR leaders, which is kind of our podcast on Zoom. Where it's like, let's discuss these topics every week. Let's pull in HR leaders. When I prospect, it's not going to be take a demo. It's going to be like, here's this content. Join our video this week. Hey, do you want to be a guest on the video this week? It's just going to be like awareness, really no ask. And then they go to our website and check out our stuff. And then, you know.
And that's how you get VaynerMedia. Ask Claude Silver to be on that.
And you know, I'll add something there, Tucker. You mentioned no ask, but I think with what you guys do, there should be not necessarily an ask, but you should be able to link them to what you guys do every single time. I don't think that it would be offensive or outside the realm of tasteful content for you to plug what you guys do in all facets of your brand, you know, personal branding, your podcast. I mean, you could sponsor your own podcast, you know, or whatever. You could do little giveaways like the background screens and stuff that you're doing, because when push comes to shove, you kind of have the product that is really easy and palatable for people to accept and ask on. It's not like I'm trying to, you know, push like, you know, a mug or something. You know, this is something tangible that people need. So I don't think you should steer away from that. I should say, if you guys are interested in learning more about Capturely, or you need, you know, a new headshot or whatever, or you know someone that might be interested, point them in our direction. Here's the information will be included in, you know, whatever, the recording and the email, blah, blah, blah.
I love it, Amy. I want to be really tactful about how I ask. Because especially if I'm going to like a VP of HR at a big firm in LA, like I don't want to burn my shot with that person by saying, you know, buy my shit really quickly. You know, I want to be like, give. obviously throughout that like they'll go to my website, they'll check out my content, they'll see the little Capturely logo in there. But I really I want to be super tactful. So I'm creating a cadence and kind of a playbook.
Okay.
It's email, LinkedIn, phone call, kind of social.
Right.
I may ask for some feedback from some of y'all since you're.
That's exactly what I love to think about. Like that's
what I was gonna say.
I love thinking about that stuff. And there's another channel possibility popped into my mind as we were talking is like smaller recruiting agencies that are recruiting for startups, that are recruiting for small startups. And maybe Tabitha, you might have more insight on this, but I'm thinking like the smaller companies that they're recruiting for don't necessarily have the resources to give everybody a headshot. So even if you could come with some kind of a channel from the recruiter, like the recruiter's getting a fee, they could take, I don't know, 1% of that fee or something and put it towards a headshot. I don't know what all the dollars costs, but if that would be attractive for the recruiting agency, like, look, we'll land you a job and we'll give you a headshot. So that was just a random idea I had.
And that's why I was thinking like you should partner with, and that would be, I do want to talk to you just to learn a little bit more about, and we could talk obviously off this call. But we just launched something called Career Ideas, and it's this whole like comprehensive kind of bundle of career strategy that we're helping people with. And that right now is actually very popular because of so many people getting laid off. People need to some people that have been thinking about this are now like, okay, maybe I should take action to help me get through this while I'm like, while we're going through this journey, let me really get it together, and this could be part of it. I just told one of my candidates the other day, like, you need to change your LinkedIn profile picture because it's blurry. And it's like so small and like really blurry. And even things like that are just, people might think they're stupid, but it really is all about the first impression, and you think about like, just for all of your knowledge too, like, I mean, a LinkedIn profile at this point is way more important than a resume. Not saying you don't need a resume, just saying it's way more important. Yeah, and so that's huge. And we're helping with part of our service is a LinkedIn strategy architecture with people that are really doing it, so that I'd love to learn a little bit more, about that as well. But talking to other people that work with candidates on some level, like career coaches, and I know a ton, I'm sure a lot of you, we might all know some of the same people, Sarah Johnston, Carrie Twigg, Kyle Elliott, all these people that are have really made a brand for themselves in the career coaching space. This could be something that they also, whether they offer it to their, their clients or not, but it might be something they could, at least you partner with them on some level and they're referring their business to you.
Yep.
I got to just ask, given that now we've got recruiters in the picture, military in the picture, education in the picture. So grad schools, medical schools, colleges. That's my son. Say hi.
Hey, buddy.
Hey.
You say hello. And, I'm thinking also just talent, right? So all of your actors, your actresses, people who are trying to take the next step and have professional headshots done. I don't really see that HR would be like really, I would have them as like a definite channel, but I would utilize all the other channels before I'd start working on HR. Because if I'm a company that's laying off hundreds of people, I will.
Where's the Velcro when you need it?
Yeah, no doubt. No, if I'm laying off hundreds of people, I'm doing that because my cash flow sucks, right? Like I can't figure out how to keep these people on. And so to me, I mean, like, it's going to be a very hard sell if I'm that HR person and I go to my senior leadership to say, hey, we've got to lay these people off. I'd really like to get them this package. It's going to cost the company money to give them a headshot. To me, I'm hearing that CEO or that COO going like, I don't want to pay for that. It's unfortunate, but I mean, I like There's a million
Not
other
wrong.
resources.
I mean, you are right in that. That was one of the first things that I thought of when I was reading the email from Francois. I thought the same thing. Like, man, they're like basically they're laying off people proactively, so because they know they have a cash windfall or a revenue, that can pay for X number of employees for X number of days, including all their overhead. And so to get ahead of that, they'll proactively cut people, and then I mean it'll get down to crunch time where they'll just straight up furlough. Like JCPenney's has furloughed like 80 to 90% of its employees, including their back end support. So like the IT department, they're furloughed completely. These people are, I mean, they can go out and find another job for $100K easy. They've got that much experience. They're sitting there not getting paid, completely furloughed right now. So that's actually more, I think your target is to figure out who's furloughed, who's laid off, and to get ahead of the curve. So if you know a company is going to be potentially laying off people, like I'm going to use my mom as the prime example. She works for Ferguson Enterprises. Okay. They got the notice from the CEO 3 days ago that layoffs are coming. They're going to try to cut other areas first, but they know it's coming. And I worked for them back during the recession in 2008, 2009. And I saw firsthand how they managed the layoff process there internally. I mean, I watched my coworkers, dropping like flies. My mom got a call from her boss essentially that said, hey, are you planning to retire soon? Because if so, don't put in your retirement because we want you to get a really good package, a severance package if layoffs happen and we need to let people go. And of course they were like, we don't want to lose you, promising her that, that she's not going and there's other people that would be cut first. And I was like, Mom, don't listen to the BS. That call was a call to action for you. You need to get your resume together. You need to get your headshot done. You need to be prepared for the axe to fall. And so we're working on that already. I mean, my mom's been with them for like 16 years. So there are a lot of people in that position. And like you said, because legally they have to announce the potential for layoffs, there's a lot of people going online looking for jobs that are telling people like, layoffs are imminent, or they've just been laid off. And LinkedIn will tell you that because they'll be able to change their employment status, and you can run searches based on their employment status. So if they're losing their jobs, you can run searches. So let's see everyone that's lost their job in the last 20 days or there has a change of employment or employment status, run those searches. I would actually target those people more than necessarily HR. But I do think it would be smart to target HR for severance packages, because that would be a good little incentive for them to throw in the mix for those people to take those severance packages. And especially people that are retiring, or, prematurely, so to speak.
I think Gavin nailed it too. Gavin nailed my exact point, which is if you find like a VP in HR that has to go upstream and try to sell this, that's going to be difficult. But if you've worked the C-level and you get it to go down, it's going to be a lot easier. I mean, that's just, I just finished combo prospecting. If anybody hasn't checked out that book yet, I highly recommend combo prospecting. And that's one of the main themes in there is like multi-thread right off the bat, do everybody at the same time, C-level, VPs, directors, managers, and just hit the whole thing like a waterfall and just do them all at the same time and have different messaging for each of the four or each of the three tiers. So that's what's been in my brain the past couple of weeks.
Hey, Tucker, quick question, just like kind of almost operationally. I'm just wondering, like, I hear lots of great things to be excited about, but I'm also thinking of the awkward, like, $1 million question in the room, like, can you even go take pictures right now? Like, because of all the lockdowns and whatnot. So is it kind of like you got to get people excited about this and then like we can come do this in 30 days? Like, like how's the messaging?
So like if you go to our, it's a really good question, because right now it's like the 6 feet stay inside thing. But in the Midwest specifically, you see like governors tweeting as of yesterday, we're about to open the economy back up. Like we're about to like open up the doors again. California has said until May 15th. So you guys, California is going to be a while. Like, and So the business is headquartered in LA. The CEO, the CTO, and I are all in Indianapolis, but 2 of the other business partners are in LA. It's funny. Somebody mentioned actresses. Yes, Gavin, kudos to you, my friend. So Capturally, actually, the CEO has done well for himself previously. He bought a company called the Headshot Truck, which was literally a food truck driving around in LA doing 450K in ARR, just doing
Wow.
headshots for actors and actresses.
That's
Genius.
awesome. That is.
Wow, that is genius.
Well, imagine that rolling up to like a sales convention or something later this year.
Oh
Any
my
convention,
God, yeah.
if you had a booth there or even like
Oh my
something like that, a
gosh.
little mobile. Like, you know what would be really funny is if you actually had a one of those photo booths, and that could be more for like playful fun, but that would be like a really good hook to get people to come to the. I'm
So
sorry. I'm like thinking
you guys are spot on.
Yeah, dude, a Capturely truck with street tacos and headshots. Are
Yeah.
you kidding me?
I will go for that all day long.
Yes.
I sold event technology as my last gig. So this guy was originally recruiting me as conferences and conventions, like go that direction. But now like Facebook has canceled all their events until end of next summer, right? So it's like a whole new approach, whole new strategy. But if you go to our website right now, the biggest initiative we're pushing is buy one, give one. It's a $99 headshot, which is so freaking cheap.
So
and
cheap.
You buy it, and then you can give one to somebody else who needs it. So like it's super cheap.
Awesome.
Like, all right, give one away to somebody. Trying to get some revenue in the door while our revenue is literally like nothing.
But just again, like logistically, I mean, can't you do a socially distanced 6 foot 2 meter headshot?
You can.
Yeah,
you can.
easily.
And you don't have to bring a bunch of people together at one time. You can have them in and out in 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I think the only thing you wouldn't be able to do, which I saw on the website, was like there was an add-on service for like makeup. Like you probably wouldn't be able to do that right now. But everything else would be fair game. Now, from an operational standpoint, I wanted to ask you, because you said you're in New York, California, and where else?
Atlanta, California, New York, Indianapolis. And the website needs a lot of work. I'm talking to them about that. So
how easy would it be for you to scale into other metropolitan areas?
That's my roommate was the chief of staff at Socia, our last company, and he hired from 15 employees to 75 employees in a year. And I'm like, Rob, how do we get Josh hiring like photographers in every fucking city right now? And when I hit this, like, it's just like, boom, let's go. But we've got to scale. So we've got this big company, Bernstein, their financial services company, that's in 19 cities. So we have to get up to 19 cities in like the next month or two to service them. So
nice.
Are you going to leverage that freelance network, or are you actually going to have full-time photographers?
I don't think it'll be W-2 employees. I think we'll try and get, freelance. And I think we're moving to a gig economy anyway. Like, I think we're moving to
Fiverr.
Yeah.
All day long. Fiverr. Every art institute. So the Art Institute International. So they're in Seattle, Houston, Philly, New York City. I mean, like every art institute is going to have a photography program. I don't know if Craigslist is even a thing anymore, but you could probably get camera photographers there.
Thumbtack is another one. Thumbtack is the app that sells like services. That would be good. I'm trying to think of where else would be. Well, Instagram. I mean, just that would probably be a really great avenue for you guys to advertise.
And to find photographers. Right? Like you type in hashtag like Pittsburgh photographer, you're going to come up with all the photographers that use that. You can sort through and kind of find. And that was my other question too. Like, are you guys just doing those straight, like very, buttoned up professional? Or are you guys also doing like some lifestyle? Because like, I know I want more of a lifestyle photo shoot that captures a bit more of my personality than maybe just like sitting again. Yeah. I love that.
Right now, Tabitha, professional brand is what we're targeting, and we're kind of making it just a distinction between professional and personal brand, and then there's employer and company brand, which will help you with imagery there and videos there long term. Yeah, but it's a good point. Like people want those. They want the coffee mug and the coffee shop with their little Mac in front of them too, right? For their Instagram alongside their LinkedIn, their Paylocity, all this other professional stuff that they might be logging into.
Like for anybody that knows Chantel Sumis online, she had recently, like probably within the last 6 months, used a woman, and of course I'm forgetting her name right now, so it's kind of muting my point a little bit, but she, like, this photographer started to blow up on LinkedIn because Chantel was like telling her story and showing all the different pictures and talking about her experience. Again, an example of an influencer, kind of a micro influencer. Yeah, I mean, I even reached out to this lady. She's not even in my area, but I was like, I love the lifestyle photos that you're taking. And so that's just an example too of, and I'm sure if you go back to her profile, you can kind of see the example. But when you've got people shouting you out and being like, oh my gosh, I had the greatest experience and look at all these photos and,
Yeah, and incentivizes your photographers also to essentially advertise for you. I mean, when they're growing their brand and they're showcasing what they're doing, I mean, you could get some pretty high profile, photographers to probably do some sessions for you, and then capitalize on that. But I mean, you've got photographers that are now moving on to LinkedIn and doing really well. I mean, it's very interesting, to see them and what they're doing. So I would definitely say, like, that's an avenue for you as you guys move forward and expand your market. Like, use those, teach your photographers how to use social media and, kind of invest in that side of it too. But that's kind of like, down the road. But I mean, it would help initially too with like the LinkedIn influencers and see if you can get a couple, like Zusha, is that his name? He's in California.
Yeah, Zusha.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's in LA. Yeah.
Yeah. He'd be really cool. He's got a really good following, a really great kind of personality. He'd probably be willing to work with you guys, and anything like that will help. But
guys, I see we're up to the hour mark, and I know everybody's given up an hour, but Tucker, I guess do you have a final question or anything?
I just want to say thank you to you all. You're all brilliant individuals that have helped me so much today. So huge. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. This is the coolest thing ever. Like, this is so cool. I always tell people, like, call me if you want to brainstorm. And like, this is legit what I'm always looking to do, because it helps everybody grow and meet new people. And so thank you. Yeah. And really quick, wait, I had something on what you, on what you just said, Amy, maybe like a PDF or some like type of how you're talking about doing guides. Do a guide for photographers on how to show up on, for example, LinkedIn, like something that helps them, that you just hand out for free as you're connecting, to say, hey, like, this is us, and here's something for free to help you promote yourself, and if you're not already doing it, and something like that.
Yeah.
Before I forget too, the one thing, I want to go back to branding for a second, because Amy was talking about the light ask. So if you have a really good tagline and good summary, that is your light CTA, because people want to know more about you. And your simple ask is go connect with us on our social media channels. Right. So that way you're not selling. So I would just do your tagline with all your social media handles with your logo on every single piece of shit that you touch. Like, you need to get so goddamn branded. Like, you need to be fanatical about branding, because that's going to smash it into everyone's head. Tagline, all your social media handles, and your logo. And if that's not all professionally done, let me know, because I can introduce you to a guy who's doing like my professional branding right now. He does it for companies. But like, you got to make sure you have that down, and that needs to be everywhere, because that's what people are going to associate you with.
Yeah, and I'm like the idea of like B2B, B2C, B to whatever, right? H to H. Like, people have said that so many times, but nobody has coined that. Like, I want to be the human branding company. That's kind of the one that I keep pushing to our executives, like H to H, human branding company. Like,
I like that.
People are your most important asset. Software is a bunch of code and a bunch of forms. And then you've got your humans, which are way more important. That's where my head goes to, Chris. You're spot on, my man.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys.
I like it.
And gals, really appreciate everybody giving up their time on a Friday. Hope to see you guys on here another time. And I'm sure we'll bump into each other on LinkedIn soon.
Yeah, thanks for bringing us together, Francois.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
for those that shared that they would make an introduction, let's connect after this. I would love your help growing this thing. And then I'll probably be reaching out to each and every one of you for this ebook that I'm creating, just to highlight you in it. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
That's good.
Francois, did you say you need to do you have the video. You don't need to do a picture or screenshot, do you?
I'll take a screenshot from the video. I'll find the one where you're all looking
like
fabulous.
Closing my eyes. That one.
Let's take the worst one possible.
Yeah. I looked so pissed in the last one. I was like, gosh, what's wrong? Actually, we all were. We all
I
looked
think
like
I was reading text messages in the last one.
Jeez. All right, guys.
Thanks, guys.
I love it.
Have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend.